Hi everyone, welcome to Lunch Hour Lessons with Allison. I'm Allison Mädl and today is August 7th, 2019. Each week on Wednesdays at 12:30 I come to you live to bring you a topic related to nutrition and health that I think is interesting and give you a lesson to take with you into your daily life. If you like what you hear, feel free to comment or like this video, and as always, I post a transcript of each lesson on my blog at allisonmadel.com. This week's topic is cooking from scratch. Cooking from scratch basically means using individual ingredients rather than pre-made ingredients or pre-made foods to compile a recipe. I do have a few cookbooks that I use, but most of the recipes that I make in my house I find online. Sometimes I'm excited to find what is easy, whole food meals, and then I go to actually look at the recipe and I find out that it's a bit misleading. For example, if you Google a recipe for tuna casserole, say, some recipes will be called 3-ingredient tuna casserole or something like that. And then when you look at the recipe, you find that along with the tuna and the peas, the third ingredient is boxed mac and cheese. And the first step in the recipe is to prepare the boxed mac and cheese according to the instructions. And that ingredient has that boxed mac and cheese has 11 ingredients itself. So it could have like wheat pasta and then the cheese mix and everything, which might have canola oil and thickeners and colorings and preservatives and things like that in it. So really, I look at those types of recipes and I think that should really be called a 14-ingredient recipe, but that doesn't really sound like quite as much fun. So you might as well just make it from scratch at that point. Other recipes with really short ingredient lists utilize more pre-made foods like canned cream of mushroom soup or jarred enchilada or barbecue or spaghetti sauce or things like canned biscuits and refrigerated pie crust and all of those time-saving conveniences. Ranch dressing is usually a favorite in those as well. Oftentimes it's usually a variation of cooking up ground beef, putting some sort of sauce on it, putting it with cheese on top, and then baking it in like a pie crust or with biscuits or something like that. I've seen a lot of those recipes out there. And I just really wouldn't consider this type of cooking from scratch. It can be tasty. It does save a lot of time. You probably could also find okay quality prepared foods. Like we're lucky that in grocery stores these days, barbecue sauces and even other types of pre-made macaroni and cheese, for example, is better than some of the older processed foods. But the problem is that if you don't cook from scratch, actually making those sauces yourself, you're restricted if you want to avoid certain ingredients. I recently had this happen when I went to Trader Joe's and I bought a lot of corn tortillas. So as the cashier was scanning them through, he kind of looked at them and asked if I was going to be making enchiladas. And I said, oh, I wish, but it's just so much work. And he said, oh, we sell a great enchilada sauce here. And so he went to go get it for me. And I was ready to just buy it and take his word for it. But as I always do, I turned it over and I looked at the ingredient list and I saw that it had vegetable oil in it that just listed, it could be from corn, soy, or canola oils. And it had flour in it. And since it wasn't organic, which means that the oil was probably genetically modified ingredients and the flour was probably sprayed with pesticides, I told him that, oh, I'd have to pass. And maybe this makes me sound snobby, and no, I haven't made enchiladas in a while because making the sauce from scratch does take a lot of work. But I am grateful for the deep understanding of food that I have and of the food system, because it really does empower me to make good choices. And every time I do make enchiladas, they are amazing. In any case, my point is that cooking from scratch, it actually gives you more freedom. You can make pretty much anything and tailor it to your preferences and dietary needs. So if it's a recipe that calls for using pasta, but you'd rather not use pasta, you can make a substitution to use spaghetti squash. You could make roasted spaghetti squash in an Instant Pot, for example, really easily and use that instead of noodles. Spices, any kinds of substitutions that you want to make are just easier if you're not restricted with those pre-made ingredients as part of your recipe. You'll also avoid a lot of flavorings and thickeners and colorings and preservatives and things like that, which I always think is a good thing. So today I'm going to share a recipe with you that I would consider cooking from scratch, although purists might not agree because one of the ingredients in the recipe is actually prepared mustard. So it doesn't use mustard seed, it actually uses prepared mustard. So in my defense, out of all the condiments like ketchup and relish and mayonnaise and mustard, I really think mustard is usually the least problematic, because it pretty much consists of mustard seed, vinegar, and spices. So if you're going to put anything on your food at a restaurant, mustard's generally safer. I would recommend organic mustard if you're cooking at home, and my favorite mustard is Annie's Organic Dijon Mustard. They put clove in it, which I think is a really neat flavor to have in mustard. So the recipe is a baked chicken recipe that I use often, probably at least once a month, and it comes from Diane Sanfilippo's great cookbook called Practical Paleo, which I would recommend to anyone, even if you're not following a paleo diet. The recipe has only 6 ingredients itself, and it comes together really easily. And I usually serve it with rice or potatoes and a salad. So if you'd like to see the recipe, you can check out my Facebook page later today. This afternoon, I'll post the link with this blog transcript and also the recipe for mustard glazed chicken thighs. And that is all the time we have for today. Be sure to tell a friend this week's lunch hour lesson, which is gain more freedom in your cooking by avoiding pre-made ingredients. Again, gain more freedom in your cooking by avoiding pre-made ingredients. I'll talk to you next week, and check out the weekend tip that comes out on Saturday on my Facebook page. Okay, bye for now.